being temporary doesn't make something matter any less. Because the point isn't for how long, the point is that it happened. It wasn't until I started writing for this video that I found this quote from Robin Schneider's book, Extraordinary Means. But when I did find this blurb of philosophical contemplation, I sat back in my chair in awe at the way it made me feel. The way it made me reflect on past experiences. The way it made me think of these games. Yes, I found an excerpt from this literary work and thought of Pokemon. Sue me. The reality is that I have been thinking about this for a little while now, with the release of Pokemon Legends EA just a few weeks back, and I just couldn't help but write about it. So if you'll indulge me, sit back, relax, and enjoy as a 26-year-old man laments the loss of one of his most personally impactful experiences in modern gaming. Back in November of 2022, we found ourselves in possession of a first-of-its-kind gaming experience, an open-world Pokemon game. Yeah, Legends Arceus was out, but these games were the real deal when it comes to open world. No pesky need to travel to a hub area in order to reach any other part of the map. Everything was connected, and it was beautiful. Except, it really wasn't. The world looked muddy, the environments were often lacking, and the performance was frankly abysmal. So many graphical glitches were found in just the first few days after launch, and more issues were discovered as time went on. But yet, there I was, playing the game and enjoying it? I know it sounds ludicrous to point out so many of these games' flaws only to claim to have enjoyed myself, but that is the reality. It's not a perfect piece of media by any means, but both can be true at the same time. I spent nearly 20 hours every week seeing what Paldea had to offer. I caught all of the new Pokemon, developed favorites, fought my way through the 3 storylines available, and experienced everything. I found my way down into Area Zero, taking in the crystalline beauty that the crater offered, overwhelming every sense of mine in the best way possible. I came in contact with the final boss, took care of business with my overleveled team, and just like that, it was over. Oh, and also an Ed Sheeran jump scare. It's seared into my mind. It was pleasant. It wasn't about to win any awards or anything. In fact, it remains as the worst rated Pokemon game to date, but I was thoroughly content with my experience. A solid 7 out of 10. Though, if I'm only giving it a somewhat above average rating, why did I also claim it to be one of my most personally impactful experiences in modern gaming? It may seem a little perplexing, and understandably so, but it really wasn't the game. Back in October of 2020, I purchased a pre-built PC. I had never had anything better than a crappy laptop with Intel HD graphics and an i3 processor before, so this was big. And after a few months of feeling out my new expensive toy, I decided to give live streaming a shot. I started off as any other naive 20-some with dreams of being a content creator does, playing Minecraft. It wasn't just Minecraft, there was some Rocket League, some Fall Guys, typical 2020 stuff, but the point is, I had plunged directly into the deep end, and the thousands of people already in the pool were more than ready to drown me. I didn't know what I was doing. I just went live, played whatever I wanted, and hoped that people would show up. Surprisingly, they did, but it felt incoherent. But everything changed when BDSP released. These were the first Pokemon games I ever got on release day. I played through with some dumb challenge I had concocted and never really touched the game since. So you may be asking, well, how did everything change if you just played the game once? The thing is, it planted a seed in my mind. Now that I had played those games, I was excited for the new releases. I got Arceus on release and played through that. I went back and did a second run of Sword and Shield with just an Eevee. I was hooked. And jumped to 2022 when Scarlet and Violet were released, and I've been on that Pokemon grind ever since. Just look at this channel. Do you see anything that isn't Pokemon here? Okay, yeah, but those were just that kind of, they were like an experiment, and like the Switch 2 had just come out, and like Mario, I don't know, I just like Mario Kart. All right. Fast forward to now, I have 330 hours in my main playthrough of Scarlet alone, with a few hundred more into subsequent playthroughs of both versions on extra profiles. I know there are people out there with 1,000+ hours in these games, but a combined total of nearly 700 hours across all of my profiles is not so easily dismissed. But again, it really isn't the games that keep me playing, it's who's playing them. Over the past 5 years, I've met quite a few people through streaming. I've been involved in a handful of communities, but it wasn't until my switch to Pokemon that I really found my place. In 2023, I met one of the nicest guys I'll ever meet. He goes by Little Oak. I've talked about him on the channel before, but he really is just one of the coolest, funniest, kindest dudes I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. We did a Soul Link Nuzlocke in Pokemon Black and White that took us over half a year to complete. Once a week, we'd get on a call, play some Pokemon, and just talk about anything, really. Unfortunately, he doesn't really stream anymore, but as I've said before, if he makes his return to the digital stage, definitely give him a watch. It'll be more than worth your while. Then, within the next year, I met one of the nicest guys I'll ever meet, but British. And he goes by Solar Scyther, but we call him Solar for short. Where to even begin with this man? Extremely nice, extremely charismatic. He's so much fun to talk to, and he has such a welcoming community. It's so pleasant. And not only has he been a great person to interact with, but he's introduced me to so many other wonderful people as well. And all of these communities have been such a beacon of light for me and have inspired me to do what I do now. I've already done a handful of collabs with these amazing creators, and every last one has been an absolute treat. And there's plenty more to come as well, so be sure to keep an eye out. I would be lying though if I were to say that there's no aspect of the Pokemon games that keeps me coming back, that it's all just the people that I'm meeting. In addition to the whimsy that comes with every Pokemon release, the first playthrough, the new creatures to collect, etc., there's one thing in particular that keeps me hooked, and that's the shiny hunting. I never realized that I had a collector's bone in my body until I found my first shiny Pokemon, a Grimmsnarl in Sword. But ever since unlocking that compartment of my brain, I've been obsessed with finding off-colored monsters. That's where most of those 330 hours can be attributed to, as well as basically all 275 I have in Sword. It sounds a little silly, but if you're a shiny hunter, I know you feel me on this. I just adore how much sense of community I get from shiny hunting. It really is impressive just how many people can come together to work for something as minor as a Pokemon with a swapped color palette. I feel like there's no other community that could achieve something the likes of the Pokemon community, defeating those shiny ruinous legendaries nearly 18 million times. It feels absolutely unreal how much dedication people have to these kinds of things. So why? Why did I make this video? What was the purpose? I guess the point I'm trying to make is this. Scarlet and Violet's story is coming to a close. The games aren't going to be poofed away like there's some Thanos in our world who's extremely vindictive of childhood fixations, but they are going to fizzle out. Will I continue to play them? Yes. Are there still some stories that I have yet to tell within them? Definitely. But will the world move on now that there's a newer, shinier piece of media to experience? 100%. I love all the memories I've made in these games, and I will continue to share those memories with all of you here on this channel. I'm grateful for all the friends I've made playing these games over the last 3 years, and I hope to make even more in the future. To the shiny hunting community, keep doing what you're doing, keep catching your palette swapped specimens, and keep being so incredibly warm and welcoming. And to you watching this video, I appreciate your support. I hope you continue to enjoy the content that I put out, and that it fills you with even just a glimmer of joy. And of course, for all of these things, thank you, Scarlet and Violet.